Hello, I'm Julie Williams, registered migration agent with Migration Down Under. Immigration, it's very newsworthy at the moment, isn't it? Every time you pick up the newspaper, turn on the television, listen to the radio, there's something always involved with immigration or citizenship. And you're probably wondering what is actually happening, especially if all these changes are affecting yourself. Now, there's a number of things before the Parliament that are looking at, firstly, the 457 changes. That has already been put towards the Parliament, and there's changes coming into effect in March. There's also the Citizenship Act that's currently being debated in the Senate. There's also news in regards to employers and workers exploiting other temporary visas instead of going through the right channels for the 457. So just to help you understand a little bit more and clarify what's going on, I thought I'd just run through some of these changes that are currently in the news at the moment. The citizenship is a big one. It's currently in the Senate at the moment being debated. Now, the government need the majority of the Senate to be able to pass their recommendations in the bill, and they don't have the support of the Labor or the Greens at the moment, so they were reliant on Nick Xenophon's party and the three senators there to be able to put their bill across. And unfortunately, that is unable to be done because, not necessarily unfortunately, depended on the side of the fence that you're sitting on, because it's only unfortunate if you are part of the Australian Liberal Party that wanting to push these changes forward. So there's a number of changes that they're looking at doing with the citizenship, but it doesn't affect anybody at the moment. It does affect new applications, but it doesn't affect those that have been had been lodged prior to the announcement of changes in April of this year, and it doesn't affect those applicants who already meet that 4-year residency requirement. You are still being looked at and processed. All other applications that are not meeting the residency requirements and are still sitting there waiting to be allocated and assessed are unfortunately just that, sitting there waiting to be allocated, and are not going to be looked at until possibly when the new bill gets passed. When is this going to occur? Well, how long is a piece of string? It's anyone's guess. It depends on how willing the government are to negotiate with some of the demands that the senators have. So I think it's going to be in with Parliament for a little longer yet before a decision is made on any applications for citizenship. Other changes in the news have been with the 457. There's still a lot of myth that the 457 visa has been abolished. It hasn't. Whilst that word abolished has been brandished around by the media quite some time, it's still there and it still exists. What's going to happen in March? It's going to get a new name, it's going to get a new branding, and with that a lot of new criteria. But extensively, a lot of the changes have already occurred with the 457 in the fact that there are now two lists, a short-term list as well as the medium to long-term list. So depending on your occupation will depend on the criteria that you need to meet and whether you're still eligible for a pathway into permanent residency. Many people are worried that the 457 no longer leads to permanent residency. It all depends on your individual circumstances, because existing 457 holders who meet the temporary transition stream can still apply, and those that meet the direct entry requirements also can still apply. From March 2018, we're not quite sure how it's all going to affect current 457 holders. We do hope that there is some form of grandfathering clause in place so that people that have done the right thing and have been working on their 457 in the hope of securing permanent residency can continue to do so. But we just can't guarantee what the final decision will be until it's announced in March, unfortunately. I understand that, it's really playing with your lives and your futures when you've got so much uncertainty resting on it. But those that have got a tertiary qualification or perhaps a trade qualification, that are on the medium to long-term skills shortage list may be eligible for permanent residency through an independent means. So it's not impossible. There's still options out there for you, and it's probably just a matter of inquiring and finding out further whether you do meet that criteria for permanent residency. The other news at the moment is with employers unfortunately using the 400 visa subclass for the wrong cause, and that is bringing in the 400 is for specific work purposes, people with highly specialised skills that are coming out for a short period of time to work on something that's highly skilled that they don't necessarily have the skill set here for in Australia. And it's been reported that there's been a number of employers that have been using this to navigate around the 457, which then unfortunately means that overseas workers are being exploited and not paying accordingly to the Fair Work Act. So that has been in the news at the moment as well, and it's a very sort of hot political topic, any foreign workers working here in Australia. The other thing that's in the news at the moment is temporary as opposed to provisional visas. A lot of people are coming out on a temporary visa that then transitions into permanent residency, and then there's other migrants that don't even come out on a temporary visa. They can apply immediately for permanent residency and migrate to Australia as a permanent migrant. And being a permanent visa holder gives you benefits and access to certain social security benefits, such as our healthcare scheme, Medicare, where the government are now proposing looking at everyone coming in on what's referred to as a provisional visa. So you've got to be able to do a certain period of time on a provisional visa before you're eligible to apply for permanent residency. So any skilled migrant, instead of applying directly for a skilled permanent residency visa, may have to do a provisional visa first to prove themselves and be employed in that occupation before they're eligible to apply for permanent residency. This already occurs for some visa streams, namely the business investor stream, where there are provisional and permanent residency pathways, and you can't automatically jump straight to permanent without first being on the provisional. That gives ways for the government to make measures to make certain that the migrants that are coming out in particular fields and occupations are actually then finding employment and working in their field of expertise, so those skill sets are not lost. And that's why they're proposing to put a provisional visa in place. But at the moment it's still just talk. There's been nothing proposed. They're just getting, I think, feedback from the public to see what the general consensus is on that provisional visa topic. But there's been so many changes, and there's continuing changes, and I know it's very difficult to capture all those in a small video, or possibly not being able to answer all your questions that you've got. So don't hesitate in contacting us if we can continue to assist you further, and we will try to maintain these regular updates so that we can keep you best informed about what the new changes are coming in, as well as the recommendations that are currently happening at the moment. So stay tuned, and we'll keep you updated with any changes that may affect you in the future.